The new American destroyer line still isn't worth the early access costs, but they do serve a purpose. Just don't expect to carry games with them. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Normal Guy of the North, and today we're diving into the new American destroyer line in World of Warships. But before we break down how they perform in game, I want to take a moment to talk about what these ships were originally meant to be. They appear to be destroyer escorts, or in my world, in the Royal Canadian Navy, the Royal Navy, we call them frigates. Now, these aren't your fast-hitting, hard Fletcher-class legends. They kind of look like them, especially the Osborne, designed to be smaller, slower, and cheaper than true destroyers. These ships were built to protect convoys, hunt submarines, and fill the gap where full-size destroyers were either unavailable or needed elsewhere. They weren't flashy, they weren't glamorous, there's no glory for these things, but they were vital. Escort merchant ships across dangerous waters, laying down sonar screens, and launching depth charges on enemy subs trying to cut off supply lines. They were tough, dependable, and absolutely essential to the war effort. So with that in mind, let's see how that historical transition goes to the game and why this line feels, well, kind of just average, like meh, that's what I said yesterday. But I think I know how they can actually work much, much better with a certain build, and I'll go through that in a bit. So in the end, these new American destroyers do kind of reflect the real-life heritage, and that's both what I would say a blessing and a curse. Like their World War II counterparts, they're built around utility and survivability more than firepower or speed. You'll find that they can screen, contest caps, provide decent support, but they don't excel in damage dealing or aggressive play. And I've had to learn the last one over the last 2 or 3 days. Just like the destroyer escorts they're based on, these ships are meant to follow or fill a specific role, not to carry the spotlight or even carry a game. And if you go in expecting mini Fletchers or mini Gearings or something flashy, you might walk away disappointed. But if you approach them with the right mindset, methodical, supportive, and team-orientated, they can still perform quite well. But in a game full of overpowered premiums and high-impact tech tree lines, the truth is they feel just average or meh. And in 2025, that might not be good enough. Stick around because I'm going to break the whole thing down now. Okay, let's dig into it. So as I said, kind of alluded to, I'm not going to do 4 individual reviews. I'm going to do it all in one shot for you because the build, equipment, everything is the exact same on all 4 ships. If you take the belief that these are not fleet destroyers and destroyer escorts, or frigates in my case, then the best way to handle them, I think, is this build because it gets over the one issue of the slow turret. You want to be a destroyer that can actually fight a destroyer? Fine. But too aggressive play in these boats, you're dead. But however, I will say that it has 2 roles. 1, you can go do the caps, or 2, you can actually stay back where the cruisers are, and you can just spam the crap out of a battleship and or a cruiser, even destroyers to a certain degree because it's very accurate. But I want to get into it with you, so I'm going to go through it. And the only reason why this works now is because of this captain and one skill that makes it worthwhile for the 2 different types of builds. So here we go. First, let's go into the equipment. All right, so let's take it off and go into equipment, okay? So like I said, all 4 are the same. So you do start off with main armor modification, kind of obvious what you want to do. Now, some of the controversy I've seen so far, and I do choose a speed boost because it's an extra 30%. This is ideal for short-term engagements with aka destroyers or cruisers, maybe if you're in close, and or juking and jiving away from actual battleships and cruisers at distance. So for me, I would take this well over taking engine room protection. That's just my view of if I'm being honest. Okay, and then of course you do take, as everyone does, aiming modification systems. Now, this one's got a bit difference too. Because of this captain, you don't have to take main battery modification too. That way you get the extra 15% turret traverse. You're going to need that if you don't have this captain. And I'll get to that captain in a minute of why it's important how to get him. Now, of course, for me, I'm going to take propulsion modification. The steering is fantastic in this boat completely. So this allows you to juke and jive even at close distances, but especially at distances where you want to actually shoot battleships and cruisers. You can become very freaking annoying in the game, if I'm being honest, with this boat design. Now, of course, I also take concealment because if you want to disengage, you want to disengage, especially if you get overwhelmed. The flags I take are pretty straightforward on the boats. This is what I'm taking. And, of course, repair for the boats. This is 5-second, 38-second standard destroyer. I'll get into smoke in a minute. The speed boost is awesome. It's an extra 10%, plus you have a long duration. So you can actually get going, get where you need to go, and go fast. They're not exactly the best for speed. Now, the two shell types that are important here is high explosive. It can only pen 23 millimeters, but it can pen every destroyer in the game. And of course, you have SAP. This can pen 38 millimeters. However, I had a game, for instance, where I was going up against a Mino at less than 2 kilometers, and everything bounced because she has the armor belt. If a ship like cruiser has an armor belt, you ain't going through it, no matter what you do. So be very cautious about this. It's deadly against destroyers, and if you really want to go against, say, cruisers and battleships, I would keep this going and want to burn down battleships, or what you're also going to want to do is you want to actually burn down destroyers, depending on it. Now, this on a broadside destroyer, if it doesn't go through or overpen, I was having a lot of luck with it. The semi-armor piercing will wreck a destroyer pretty quick. So that's okay as long as you get it broadside. If you want to get into a fighting match, you're going to have to actually use this. Now, these are the overall. Let's talk the smoke. This is the new type of smoke. It's got a 5-second dispersion time, so it's basically creeping smoke like you see on the Commonwealth ships or Canadian ships or whatnot. So the total usage time is 160 seconds. Now, the minimum activation time is 15 seconds. Once you turn it on with the T key, I think it is, yeah, you can turn it off 15 seconds later. This effectively gives you almost 12 short-duration smokes like a British ship would have, a British destroyer or whatnot. That's actually kind of cool. And the cooldown time, because of the captain skills you see, is only 17.6 seconds. This smoke, while it's less than typical American smokes, I mean, American smokes, the straight smokes, the 3 charge you get or 4 charges, are far superior to this smoke. If you want to do long time farming and you want to be in the smoke, it's great that way. However, this smoke is dangerous because the 5-second dispersion time, people who are good at shooting at you in the smoke are going to most likely hit you. Be very careful. The smoke is phenomenal because you don't have to use a whole charge to disengage from ships and to disengage from cruisers, especially when you want to get away from cruisers like radar cruisers and whatnot. It does help you just disappear if you want to. Again, these are not frontline destroyers. They're not in the traditional sense of wargaming gunboats. They're just not like that. But the smoke, it's interesting, and I do like it. I use it for short duration, or if I want to finish off a ship, or if I want to get a destroyer that's not prepared and just, boom, smoke up, and then do the creeping smoke so the torpedoes don't get you, and you can maneuver on it. It's good that way. I like it. I believe it would technically be the first ship destroyer with creeping smoke and SAP, but you guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head. Now, I want to take you into this captain, and it's important. So, John Doe is a special captain. He costs 1,500 doubloons in the armory, and he's got these stars. I'm still doing this series on the captains. I'll explain what this is, but you want the ones with the stars, not the ones without stars. They're just historical, and I'll show you why. Grease the gears gives a plus 20%, not plus 15%. This alone, I've seen, I'm going to say 95% of the time in engaging in a DD duel and you're trying to kite away or you're trying to do circles, the guns just stay on long enough to fire. I mean, if you can't fire your guns, you're going to die anyway, right? So this does actually make a difference. So this captain on this line is perfect. This allows, because I have this, I don't have to take other skills, I can now do this. Consumable specialist, I can get my smoke and my speed boost down by 7.5%. It's fantastic. Now you're going to end up, if you do all this build right here, I end up with 1 skill and I put it in here. You don't need a 2-point skill for this line of party targeting. As soon as it starts to flash, you're being fired at. If you're at distance, it's time to juke and jive. And if you're not at distance or you're trying to engage somebody or you get surprised, again, juke and jive, pop your smoke because you can actually disengage that way. It's really good that way. It's a good indicator and it's a good visual indicator. Of course, then your destroyer, you've got to take preventive maintenance and last stand. That's a must. These are the most important skills, in my opinion, you must have on a DD. Of course, then I do take Adrenaline Rush, and I'll explain these two a bit later here when I finish. For me, I take Adrenaline Rush because, hey, you're going to get damage. I also take RPF. This helps me with destroyers. It really does. I know the destroyer is coming towards me and I can't see him. You know you're going to have an engagement. You can most likely be able to start kiting away if you have a good idea, especially in the early matches and mid matches, to find out you kite away, you're going to be in a position better than that destroyer is, because these destroyers do have pretty good concealment. They're not bad. Of course, I'm going to take Concealment Expert because I want to keep my concealment down if I need to. And I love Dazzle for destroyers. This is a plus 8% speed boost and plus 20% dispersion on enemy shells when firing at you. This allows you to start turning and kiting away and help you off. Now, people are saying, main battery AA, great, you get a minus 5% reduction. For most of these ships, that's going to give you, I'm going from a 0.2 to a 0.0, like a 0.1, 0.2. Difference in gunpowder. I don't see how that actually matters to me, in my opinion. This one, though, this is the difference. Don't take RPF. If you want to do just long haul shooting, this gives you a plus 20%. So in the case of the Osborne, it takes up to 15 kilometers of firing. That's very decent, and you can sit there and annoy the heck out of cruisers and battleships. You can be pain in the ass. Period. This is how I see this, and it will. You're going to upset some people, if I'm being honest. Okay, let's break down the overall playstyle of these 4 new American destroyers while I sip on my Tim Hortons deep tea, because that's so Canuck of me. Because while they might share the same equipment and builds, how to use them is always what makes or breaks your experience. Think of them as a modern-day destroyer escort or frigate, in my case, not fleet destroyers, and certainly not frontline brawlers. These ships excel when you use patience and tactical awareness. They are really 2 different viable roles for these destroyers. First, you can test caps carefully with good concealment, creeping smoke, and SAP shells that absolutely melt the broadside destroyers. You can win early DD duels if you play it correctly, but only if you're measured. Push too hard or overcommit and be back in port that fast. Second, and often more effectively, you can operate just behind or around your cruiser line and act as a persistent harasser. Their accuracy at range, strong turret traverse, when paired with the right captain, and that unique creeping smoke allows you to poke, pressure, and burn down battleships and cruisers over time, especially if you're spec'd into the extended gun range build. And remember, you can do this without a problem because you're not getting in a DD duel, so the turrets become a relevant moot point. Now, their SAP shells can pen 38mm of armor, perfect for tearing up destroyers or lightly armored cruisers. Their HE can pen 23mm, so you can pen every destroyer in the game to my knowledge. I think it's the gearing that's 21mm or 22mm on the side. Enough for DDs and some superstructure farming, but beware of armor belts. You're not going to go through a mino at 2 kilometers, trust me, I tried it. And of course, their creeping smoke isn't about parking and farming, it's about repositioning, disengaging, and setting up traps. Short bursts of concealment, not long-term invisibility. Use it creatively, or you'll just be another sitting duck. The smoke and its design is amazing for disengaging or just going unspotted. It only lasts for 15 seconds maximum. If you want to turn it off, it's great, like I said, for disengaging. Bottom line, these destroyers are not designed for brute force aggression. They're skirmishers, flankers, and harassment tools. And with the right build, especially using the special captain John Doe for turret traverse and cooldown buffs, they can be a real thorn in the side of the enemy. And that wraps up a look at the new American destroyer line in World of Warships, a set of destroyers that, like their historic counterparts, they're not flashy, but they are functional. They won't top the charge with raw firepower or speed, but if you treat them like the tactical tools they are, smart positioning, clever smoke use, and persistent harassment, they can absolutely make a difference in your matches. If you've played British or Commonwealth, aka Royal Canadian destroyers before, these will feel somewhat familiar, but with a distinct American twist. And while they may not be worth the early price tag for everyone, myself included, they do have a solid place in the current meta if you use them right. Thanks as always for watching. If you found this helpful, drop a like, leave a comment, because I know a lot of you guys and girls love to comment with your thoughts on the line. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos. But as always, take care, stay safe, wish y'all the best. Bye for now.